Hai. Hai tayo gusto chuganabira. Onne Miyahira Rin Yaibin. Tashku Nigesubira. My name is Lynn Miyahira, and I'm also this year's HUOA president, and we are very happy to welcome you to our 13th episode, lucky number 13, 13th episode of Yuntaku Live. We're very,
wow.
Yes, I know. We are very happy to host with you today, my co-host, David Jones.
How's it going, everybody?
Yes. He's actually the brains behind this thing. I'm just sitting in a chair and he's actually figuring out everything going on behind here. So thank you, David, for always for stepping up to the plate and helping us with this virtual experience for everyone. So we are super excited for today's show. We also have a lot of announcements first, so we're gonna start with that. Like always, we want everyone who's joining us virtually, either on YouTube or Facebook, to tell your friends, tell your family, make sure you share our Facebook and YouTube pages and ask them to like and subscribe. We're just under 500 subscribers and we need another 500 on YouTube. So please share, help us so that we can start. I guess we need so many subscribers, right? So we can ask for donations. But until we get there, great content, and there's all kinds of stuff on YouTube, of course, that you can share. Many people that I know are still helping. You know, they're trying to share with not just their family, but other friends or older relatives who need help getting this on their TV, and so they're helping them with, like, you know, the apps on the TV, so you can AirPlay it. However, people need to, you know, some people have been lending people iPads, so that they can watch on YouTube, because that's just easier if you have the YouTube link already downloaded. So thank you again. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll be bringing you more and more stuff in the future.
You know, all right. Idea. I think you know, I might have to do like a tutorial video on how to set up and cast your this Yuntaku Live on your TV, huh?
Yeah, we should actually show that, like how people can watch it on their phones, or how they can watch it on their TVs, and different ways of actually doing that. It's so great that we have people from all over. Like literally, we just have somebody. Well, of course, we have Janine. Janine's always here. Kaniohe in the house. We have Jackie from Kapohulu. We always have like Karen coming in from Waikele. And today we have Carrie Yamauchi from Portland, Oregon. So thank you so much for everyone for joining us today. And please comment in the, leave your comments in the section and tell us where you're coming in from. We love to share comments that are coming in live. Okay. So just want to remind people why, you know, when we started this, it was April, it was mid-April. It was right in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic when we were first, you know, trying to figure out what this was. And so this was our way to really bring Okinawan music and performing arts to everyone's living rooms while we couldn't gather in large groups. And, you know, for us, Okinawans, we love gathering in large groups. We love coming to big performances, right? And then, but it's really difficult with COVID-19. And so we want to thank everyone for continuing to wear their masks, wash their hands, you know, stay home when possible, because I know today's news was that we had 41 cases, which is actually the highest we've ever had since this coronavirus pandemic started. So a little bit concerning, but we all need to stay vigilant, I think, and make sure that everybody's doing everything we can to not only protect ourselves, but other people in the community.
I also want to make a quick note about the restaurants. We haven't featured a restaurant in the past couple of episodes, but you know, I do want to bring, you know, I got some feedback, you know, from some restaurants such as Sunrise Restaurant, and there's other Okinawan-owned restaurants, Utage, and you know, although you know, we're able to dine in and go to some of the restaurants, although I think Sunrise you cannot, it's just takeout only yet. You know, there's still to struggle, you know, through this pandemic, where, you know, I think a lot of people are still, you know, afraid to go out and eat. But you know, if you can support both, you know, Sunrise, Hidechan, and Utage, they would really much appreciate it. When we talked about it in towards the beginning of this live show, I think a lot of interest and people are going out to support them. So if you can continue to support them, they would really appreciate it. Yeah.
Very true. This has gone on a little bit longer than I think a lot of people have were guessing in the beginning. And we are even though a lot of dine-in places are open now, it's still really tough for a lot of restaurants. And I do want to make a plug out there for Zippy's. Zippy's has been a long-time partner with Okinawan Association, starting generations ago. So I don't know if people know this, but Zippy's helped with the original Okinawan festival and let us use their kitchen back in the day to help prepare a lot of food. And so the relationship is very long and deep. And they're also, not just Zippy's restaurants, but for those of you who know, part of their business is also the Pomaikai ballrooms, which just had to close down recently. So we are very, concerned. So we want to keep going out there, support Zippy's. They've supported us in many, many ways over many years. So go out, buy those gift cards, buy those, takeout meals. But we are so thankful for our many Okinawan restaurants that are here in Hawaii. So,
absolutely.
All right.
We got a couple more announcements here, just on the Purple Blast.
That's right. So many. Yeah, so we just sent out a Purple Blast. We've been doing these almost weekly now to keep up with our Yuntaku Live, notifications. So of course we have Norman Kaneshiro on today. We also have our very first online pre-sale Andagi drive-through sale happening on Sunday, July 19th. Go to HUOA.org to fill out the form. It will be pre-sale only. And so that's something a little bit different. You can't just drive up and try and order because we do have only a set amount that we can make that day. So we are asking people to also sign up for a pickup time so that we don't have like 1,000 people showing up, at 10 a.m. So we're asking people to select either 10, 11, 12, or 1 p.m. for their pickup time. And we are going to try this. This is the first time we're trying a drive-through pickup. So we're really excited. We only have a limited number of andagi to sell, and we're going by the dozen. So please, DJ has the form up right here. You can go right there. My guess is we are going to be sold out by tomorrow if people, there's only like 130 dozen left to sell. So we really, really appreciate. I'm so sorry for the people who are watching from the mainland or, who aren't here on Oahu. This is like a teaser, but this will be only on Oahu. But we are, hoping that maybe once we get this down, we can share it with other clubs on the neighbor islands and that people can kind of figure out their own, andagi sale that still remains socially distant, and that we're protecting, especially our kupuna, our elders, so that we really don't want, everyone to get sick. So thank you so much for everyone we just boom, we opened it up and all of our members probably just went on there and bought their andagi. So we're excited to see how this goes. And, if it's really successful, we'll be sure to try and do it maybe monthly. I know we're going to try and do it in the beginning of September again. And then we'll see after that how many times we can keep doing this, because I know there'll be a lot of demand.
And thank you very much to Patrick Miyashiro, who's been heading this, and the crew. They've been working very hard planning this.
And
if you're interested in ordering andagi, the pre-sale, just go to HUOA.org and it'll be right on the front page. Just scroll down and then order form is right there, front and center.
Yep. And it will be credit card, debit card only. So make sure that you can purchase those, make sure you have that ready. All right. Thank you so much. So that's one of our, new events that we're bringing in the COVID era, trying to make sure that we continue to engage with our community that way. We also will be we're still on track to have our virtual Okinawan festival, our virtual Okinawan experience, we're calling it, that will we're going to take what kind of like this Yuntaku Live and take bits of what we would normally do at festival and put it together in a partially live, partially pre-recorded website virtual version. And so we'll bring you more information on that. We're hoping to have an online marketplace where you can buy goods online. And we are just very excited to be, this is new frontier for the Hawaii United Okinawa Association, but I am very excited in the direction we are going. Thank you.
Real quick, I just want to show a note from Kathy Matsuda from Kohala.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lynn and David and the executive board for creating and sharing all the talents of our Yuntaku Live productions that we watch every week. Oh, and then Jean Matsuda, the mother.
Mom, yeah, Jean. So the Kohala gang is really strong out there. I hope you guys are all sharing this with each other. I got to go visit them, what was that, last year during the Shinenkais. And oh man, the food. The food at their party was just amazing. It's fresh akule, they got an imu going. It was just so great. So thank you.
And
we have
more from Kathy. So Norman, we thank you for sharing your love of the Okinawan music, dances, and culture here in Kohala as you attended the Havijodo Mission Bon Dance festivities and Kohala Okinawa Kenjinkai Shinenkai celebration. And she mentioned about the the Kohala Bon Dance at the Havijodo Mission. And if you've never been there, although I'm not sure if they're doing it this year or not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You have to go there. They have some of the best food, and it's just a beautiful setting. And I highly recommend. Rain or shine, they dance over there, and so I highly recommend if you ever have a chance to go down there. It's typically in the first Saturday of August. Yeah, and they've been very generous and inviting, along with Norman Sensei, who plays sanshin over there, and inviting us to play bon dance through with the young Okinawans of Hawaii. So it's one of our favorite trips to go out there and perform. So thank you so much for always thinking of us.
Yay. Okay. Well, a lot of things happening this year. Even though, a lot of things have been canceled, we are also creating a lot of new events. And so we are just finding new ways to connect with each other. I think that's the important thing, because I have a feeling this is going to be the new normal. We're going to have to figure out ways to virtually connect with people longer than, just this year. So like Patricia Chung is also saying, it's so exciting. She's going to be able to participate in the Okinawan Festival from California. That's exactly what we're hoping. We're hoping to reach a worldwide audience, talking to people in Okinawa as well, so that they can join us. Usually they'd have to fly here and, all of that, but now they can just click and join us online. So, all right. Okay. Lots of stuff going on still, but we just want to jump right into it. So today we have Norman Kaneshiro, who is with the Nomura-ryu Ongaku Kyokai Hawaii Shibu. He's a Shihan. He's also a co-founder of Ukwanshin Kabudan, and he's also a lecturer, a sanshin teacher for the University of Hawaii at Manoa. So let's see if he's ready.
All right. And I'm very excited to bring him on. Great friend of mine, and then also been a huge supporter of the club that I'm involved with, Young Okinawans of Hawaii. Very excited. Hey, Norman Sensei.
Hey. How are you? Oh. Okay.
With some old friends. Hello to the college. Well, I'm sorry, we're not going to be seeing you guys this summer. But yeah, we'll hope everything is okay over there too.
Okay. We have to get the mic a little bit closer, yeah? A little soft. But yeah, no, we're super excited to have you on here. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and let's start from the beginning. So when was the first time I think you realized, or your Okinawan culture, your Okinawan identity?
Well, so I'm pure Okinawan, and as Okinawan as I can get. So I'm, of course, Kaneshiro on my dad's side, but also Miyashiro on my mom's side. So it doesn't get more Okinawan than that.
Yeah, it doesn't get more Okinawan. You just need a Higa in there somewhere.
But yeah, so growing up, of course, I was always made aware of that fact that that was it was pure Okinawan. But in our family, we didn't really have a whole lot of exposure to Okinawan things. So by the time I was born, actually, it was only my dad's mom. She was basically bedridden in the hospital. I mean, she had a stroke, so she was bedridden for many years, and so that's the only memory I have of my grandmother. And of course, she didn't speak English, so yeah, there was no communication. So yeah, the only relative that really had contact. I mean, my only kind of connection with Okinawa was actually my mom's dad, my grandfather. And unfortunately, he was mostly drunk usually the time he came to the house. So my earliest connection with Okinawan music actually was he would come, especially on Saturday mornings when I'm watching my cartoons, and he'd play the radio, and yeah, we just fight about that all the time. But other than that, we as much as we were told that we were Uchinanchu, that we were pure Okinawan. There wasn't really, we didn't eat, we didn't grow up eating Okinawan food. My family wasn't particularly, at least my parents, they weren't particularly interested in the Okinawan, or active in the Okinawan community. And so it was actually after my grandfather passed away, and it wasn't really necessarily related. But actually, both my grandfather and my grandmother, they passed away within a year of each other. And I think it was around 9 years old when my grandmother passed, and 10 years old when my grandfather passed. And it was only kind of after that that I started wondering, like, what does it really mean, to being pure Okinawan has to mean something, but what does that really mean? It's at that time I'm dating myself. There's no internet, and you go to the library and there's like maybe one or two books on Okinawa, and then I remember the one book that I did, actually the only two books I remember picking up at the library was this one of this. I think it was a GI that took these photos of like post-war Okinawa
during the war. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one was, of course, George Kerr's history of Okinawa. Okinawa history of island people. And so, I'm a 10-year-old is not going to read that book, of course.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you did.
I kind of wouldn't be surprised if.
Yeah. So for me, actually getting into the performing arts, I was never confident about actually doing music or anything like that. In elementary school, when we had ukulele class, I was one of the kids that was standing in line to get my ukulele tuned by the teacher. So I had no musical background. I didn't have any confidence in doing music. So actually, that's why. My first step actually to sort of connect with Okinawan culture was to, that pesky radio that my grandpa used to listen to. That was, that was something I felt that was something that I could do easily. So, I used to wake up early on the weekends and tune into KG and back then Koho radio as well. And, I had this idea that somehow culture was in your DNA. And somehow I thought that because being pure Okinawan, that I would be more inclined to just like things that are Okinawan. And I was actually disappointed, when I turned the radio on. It's like this. It sounded just as terrible as it was when my grandpa used to come over. And so it's like, but it's interesting when that same kind of warped logic of thinking of this like innate connection to, the culture. I actually ended up force feeding myself this dose of weekly Keizu radio, early in the morning, like 6 a.m. They had the back then was 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. And through that process, I sort of gradually started picking certain things out that I liked, and then eventually, I think really that I just sort of for me, like Okinawan music was an acquired taste, but it was I think I really just want to learn more about the culture and like more about what is Okinawa. I had no idea where Okinawa was. So I think when I was 12, I finally got the guts to figure, performing arts was sort of seemed like the most accessible. And so I got the guts to, I had no, no confidence in music. So I ended up calling Majikina Yoshino Sensei, and started taking Okinawan dance. So I did that for well, actually, I was a really terrible student too. So even if I was, I was technically enrolled for 10 years,
Wow.
there's no ways that I actually did 10 years of actual dancing. But I think it was actually our first, we were getting ready for our first student recital. That was over at Jikoen. And yeah, and so we had the musicians there. It was the first time I actually got to see, Jikata live musicians. And they just, to me, they just look awesomely intimidating. And there was these three, and it just happened to be that my sensei, Nakasoi Sensei, was the lead Jikata. And so, but I remember, that there was three of them, and they just, I don't know, they just seemed so imposing, and they looked so important,
Yeah.
In a way, that was I think a little bit more intimidating. But for whatever reason, I think I ended up getting the courage maybe about a year later to just give it a try. So at the time, my father was working for the state, for the public housing maintenance man. So actually, one of the places that he was at, there was a old Okinawan gentleman that actually his hobby was fixing sunshades, and so he knew that of this man, and so he contacted him and said, "Do you have any sunshades you want to sell?" And so that's how I got my first sunshade. And how I ended up being with Nakasone, so Harry Seisho Nakasone Sensei. It wasn't like some of it wasn't like for any kind of stylistic reason or anything. Just purely because he was the one sensei at the time who spoke English.
I mean, that's totally understandable.
Yeah, so I was able to get his phone number and give him a call, and so he said, "Come on down." At that time it was Saturday mornings lessons. I still remember my first lesson going there is like, I have no idea what to do with this instrument. I've never, I've listened to the music obviously, but I had no idea about anything. And so I just remember sitting down. I'm 13 at this time, and he's asking, "What do you want to learn?"
I can only imagine.
And and that was my introduction to the wonderful world of the sanshin. And especially at that time too, it was never I never even imagined that I would be performing, let alone teaching. It was, for me, it was just a gateway, an accessible way to actually connect to, hoping as a gateway to finding out more about basically my culture, and my identity. And ironically enough, like almost 30 years later, I'm still totally confused about my identity.
But you do a lot of research about it.
Yeah, but I think what it was is that it was really that through that process, I ended up realizing that I was basically asking the wrong questions, and that really, I think there was this big thing about me that just because I was Okinawan by blood, that somehow I should or would have an automatic connection. And that's completely not the case. And so, the fact that I grew up not liking Okinawan music, the fact that I grew up without a connection to like really the Okinawan community or the to Okinawan culture, it helps me now because it helps me to kind of be able to understand the people who have that same sort of lack of connection or lack of background. And then it makes me realize that it's not just an automatic process that it's not like a club that you belong to that automatic. If you're born with Okinawan blood, that you're just part of this club. I mean,
very true.
In some ways it is. There's sort of an expectation, I think, that with Okinawan heritage, that you're supposed to know something about Okinawa. But on the flip side, I think it makes me appreciate it, that if people don't understand or don't have that connection, I can totally understand why, and I can. It doesn't seem so foreign to me, and when I'm actually helping to teach or help people to sort of sort out what this connection to Okinawa is, or about identity, then I think it gives me a little bit, because of the process that I had to go through, and sort of that process of finding the questions to ask and really finding the answers to those questions in that process really helped me to kind of give a perspective on how to go about doing it, and what identity means, and then in the end, what really the performing arts, the music, and the culture, how that really ties in to my identity. And so I think from that experience, it's to me, the music is. I just recently wrote a piece about something related to this, but I think a lot of when you say somebody's a musician, you talk about musicians. A lot of people think of that as like you're an artist, and if you're an artist, then your art is your form of expression. That expressive person, you use your music as your expression. And to me, it's and this is something I noticed, in the community too. Like, is yeah, we have a hard time calling ourselves musicians, just by nature of the word, what that implies, that whole idea of being this artist and this creative person or something like that, or even like entertainer. I mean, we pay to play places. We don't get paid to play a lot of times.
This is true, yeah.
But yeah, that it's more of, instead of us actually using the music as a way to channel our expression, it's sort of, to me at least, it's more about representation. It's the music is, and has always been a way for me. Music and the performing arts is a way to express this identity that I have, this connection. So at first it was a means to sort of build that connection, that connection to my roots, to my heritage. But for me now, it's one of the interesting things I think about the performing arts, is that it's it's this conduit for you to learn and to connect to this these traditions, and to this this culture, and to this history. But it's also gives you the unique means of also being able to express that as well, and to share that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the greatest gifts, I think, to be a musician or a performer or a dancer, is that, yeah, you get to, as much as you take in, then you also get to share that as well, versus I think there's different aspects, like some of the visual arts and crafts and things like that. It's not so, you can produce something, but it's you don't get the opportunity like this to actually be in front of an audience, to be able to
there's something about live music that is just wonderful, right? And it's hard to replicate, and it's hard, you kind of have to be there, right, to experience it. And I'm so glad that people are hearing your story, and I think it's important that people know that to hear that you, from where you started, right, and to know that you are now like teacher and Shihan, what we would call expert, right? But to know, I think for people to know that you didn't start off that way. Nobody starts off as an expert, right? And that it's a constant. I can just tell by the way you're speaking that it's hard, like you said, to call yourself a musician or an expert, but it's very inspiring, I think. And I think I'm hoping it gives people the idea that they don't have to be a master, they don't have to be the expert to just try, right? And to just pick it up and try. And it's not only for people who are very, very good at what they do. It's something that anybody can pick up and start doing. So
yeah, that's the thing I like to, the reason why I share that story about my background too, is that a lot of times when people see us perform or teach, especially my students who struggle, they just kind of, it's discouraging, I think, for them, because they see that we can do this fairly well, and they're having such a hard time. So a lot of times people chuck it up to just, well, you're just more talented than I am. or you're just more
Right.
inclined. But yeah, for me, it's like again, like I had no idea that I could actually tune an instrument, and I understand the whole concept of tighter string makes the sound go higher. All that stuff was foreign to me, and music was to me was yeah, it was to me when I was a kid that was like something unattainable, inaccessible, and so.
So I hope that gives people, gives them hope that you too can also
tell people that, because people always think that I'm a talented musician and I'm not.
I disagree.
The assumption is like, oh, you must have been born with it, right? You must have been born. But to hear that it's through hard work, study, research, and just really taking the time to do it, right? And put your mind to it, and that to not get discouraged if we don't feel like we're naturally talented at it or something. I think it's a great message for everyone to hear.
That, a lot of it too, like I think if there are people who are natural performers, and people who see that as an out, the dancing or singing as an outlet for that. But I think there's some people that that might feel shyer, or they don't feel like they're natural performers. And for me, I'm the same way. I'm not a natural performer, and I'm, believe it or not, I'm a shy person. But yeah, I think a lot of times too and again, that whole connection to being a musician or being an artist, it can take different forms. And again, if it's about representation, and like when I encourage people to dance kachashi, for example, I have to remind people, it's like, when you dance this, it's not about you.
Yeah, it's very true.
Putting on a show. Yeah, you're not putting on a show for people. This is an expression of what you feel.
Expression of what comes out.
Yeah, and so the music can take that form as well. Performance can take that form as well. And so you don't have to be feeling like you're showing off, or that you're you're trying to
or doing it right. Yeah.
Yeah, that you use that as a form of expression. So the learning and the output as well. Because to me, what it is the performing arts, they're meant to be performed. They're not just meant to be practiced in some quiet corner in a house. They're meant to be shared. And yeah, and I think what it is, it's not about performing, it's actually about sharing. And so every time that people, I think, don't realize the power sometimes the music or the dance has, even if it's maybe not expert level, just to hear that sound. Because sometimes there's households or families that sound hasn't been in the house for decades sometimes, and so just to bring that sound back to the family, back to the house, sometimes just means everything. So if you hold back from that opportunity to share, because I'm not good enough, I didn't practice, I didn't bring my notes, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think you cut yourself off from the opportunity to basically make somebody else really happy.
Well, we're gonna make a lot of people happy tonight. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your explanation. I love your explanation, and you have so much depth in your explanation. I think it has to do with a lot of your curiosity and wanting to learn more and more. But you have a way to explain things that makes me want to dig deeper and want to learn more. So thank you.
That's just a nice way of saying I talk too much, right?
Well, no. But I mean, and I'm very focused on what you're having to say and want to learn more. And so you have a very nice way of explaining that makes you more curious.
Thank you. Actually, I want to transition to the first song.
Yep.
It has a lot to do with that my background, and there's like a story within a story for this song. So this song is titled Shichibushi. And what that literally means is seasons, or seasons. And so song about seasons. And so it's a classical piece. And one of the nice things is it's a short classical piece. But to me, the lyrics are really profound. Shichichi ga nariba chikusa den shiui, hitu ni umarituti wau ya shirani. And what that means is that as the seasons progress and pass on, all of the trees and the shrubs, the plants, they all know how to behave, what to do, in their season, in their time. But we as human beings, when we're born, why is it that we don't understand the ways of our parents or the teachings of our parents? And so it poses that question. And to me, that was really kind of put words to a lot of the when I first started learning. That whole process, and well, actually, the process continues for me now. Even that constant question is, "Wauya shirani?" Yeah, why don't you understand, or why don't you know what your parents are, the words of your parents, the teachings of your parents, or where they're coming from? But the story within the story too is that. So back in the day, so I'm dating myself again. You guys actually might be just a little too young to remember that. But if you want
Hey, we're not that much younger.
just a little. No. If you want to make a mixtape, you had your tape recorder, and you have your cassette ready, and you press. Whenever you heard something on the radio, you press record. And so I used to do that with Okinawan songs, and initially when I first started listening to Okinawan music, I wasn't. I'm just totally backwards because I grew up not liking Okinawan music, and I found my way into it. And when I got into Okinawan music, actually, I wasn't really keen about the classical music. But now I'm that's my main thing.
It's very ironic.
Yeah. So when I started really appreciating the classical music, I still didn't understand the language and things like that. So when I first heard this song on the radio, this was before I was learning from Nakasone Sensei. So it was his recording. I was just drawn to his voice, and just the sound. And it was this really short piece too. And so, so I recorded that, and it wasn't. Maybe it was from the time that I first heard the song. It might have been 2 or 3 years until I actually was starting to learn from Nakasone Sensei. But when I sing or play a song, a lot of times I'm usually not singing by myself. It's usually the person that either taught me the song or the person whose version that I like the best. Usually they're singing in my head with me, and so I'm just kind of basically riding along with them. And so every time I sing this song, it's Nakasone Sensei singing in my head, and I'm singing along with him. So I'd like to share this piece.
Great.
All right, here we go. The real star DJ here.
But thank you, Norman. That was, like you said, a one of the few classical, but short. Shichibushi でしたですね. Very good. Okay, so I'm sure we want to hear more uta sanshin from you today. I know everyone is excited to hear you you perform for us today. But I think just an appreciation for your story, behind the music is really, really it's something that we are trying to do more with this Yuntaku Live. I'm sure many people who on this on this platform in our community have all seen you perform, probably literally hundreds of times. But I've never actually got to sit down and talk to you about, how you started, how this all came to be. DJ, I was wondering if we could bring up Derek Fujio's comment. I thought that was really, really neat. It's all the way up here. But Derek Fujio, most of us know him as a koto player, but he plays all kinds of instruments, right? And he literally says, I sat shyly across from Norman for literally years without any idea of what I was doing. But his persistence as a teacher, as well as a learner, like how he talked about, helped me make the musician I am today. So that's from Derek Fujio. But thank you. Yeah. Derek's another one of those people that, I've heard him perform literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of times, right? But there's so much more behind the music. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to sit down and talk story with you. So.
But, I got to say about Derek was, unfortunately, we do not. No, that guy is talented. So
that guy is talented. Yeah, he plays. I've seen him walk in with like 5 different, instruments, and he plays all of them. And that's not even Okinawan music. That's just regular orchestra.
Yeah, exactly. So no.
That's another one from Karen saying, "Hey Norman, I remember you were so shy back then, sitting on a wall at Nakasone's studio, and saying you are going to teach you when he was going to teach you. So, that's so great. See, there's plenty of people in our community that remember you when you're a kid too." Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, but thank you for making this platform. This is wonderful, and yeah, thanks for having me too.
Sensei, I would also, you're also very involved in an organization called Ukwanshin Kabudan. Mm-hmm. You're a co-founder and very involved in Okinawan culture, getting members in the community involved in an inspirational and grassroots way. And you're always busy year-round, whether it's providing seminars on a regular basis, teaching uchinaguchi, music, dance, doing plays occasionally, and teaching history of Okinawa. So how did this group come to be?
So actually, I think the impetus of it was really when I met Eric Wada. And this was back when I was actually in high school. And I think up until that point, I was doing odori and sanshin, and I was learning how to dance. I was learning how to sing, but I didn't really feel that I was really learning a whole lot about the culture. And so I had to just constantly, as a intermediate schooler and as a high schooler, I had to just constantly remind myself to be patient because something's going to happen. And yeah, I think that breakthrough moment sort of was meeting Eric, and it was the first time that I think somebody really kind of contextualized a lot of the dance and performing arts into weaving it with history and with general knowledge of the culture. And so, that was really eye-opening, and at the same time, I think that it's life-changing for me, basically, because it was something I think I was looking for that. I just didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but that was the thing that I was looking for, and I recognized it when I found it, and then from that point I really embraced it, and so that whole sort of mindset, so we share that that vision of using the performing arts as a vehicle for talking about. And I think back in those days too, we didn't have we didn't use the word identity. And then once we found the way to use that word, it really made sense. And because that's essentially from way back then, that's what we were actually trying to essentially talk about through the music and through dance. And so we did a lot of different projects together. I don't know if some of you folks remember Namikaji. That was
Namikaji.
A long time ago. And that was our dabble into modern Okinawan music. We're doing like Linkin Band covers, basically. And so we did a lot of different things. But of course, we were always doing Ukwanshin Kabudan kind of started out. We officially kind of took on that name. So of course, Eric and I were doing a lot of projects together. It was in 1999 actually that we kind of formed this group, and actually at that time Keith Nakaganeko had just returned from being in California for many years, and so we got this group together to do a performance in Okinawa as a just to say from on behalf of the Hawaii Sansei Yonsei to just say thank you to Okinawa for supporting the culture and the arts in our community in Hawaii. And um, yeah, that group that we put together, we named ourselves Ukwanshin Kabudan. And Ukwanshin is refers to so the classical music and dance that we have comes from a tradition called Ukwanshin Udui. And Ukwanshin is actually it literally means crown ship. And so these were the ships that were that came over for the investiture of all of the new king. So whenever there was a king that ascended the Ryukyu throne, it started from Ming China, and so the Ming emperor would send over an entourage to basically install and recognize the king. And so along with that entourage, there was along with the government officials, there were artisans, merchants, and all these people to do commerce and cultural exchange in Ryukyu as well. And so that's the symbol of the Ukwanshin, is that idea of sharing and carrying these treasures in a way, but also as a way, as a means of interchange and as an exchange. And really, at that time, it was also for diplomacy. And so the idea of using the sharing our culture and sharing our heritage as a way of not just understanding ourselves better, but in a way that we can interact with the world, so that we can help the world be better, that we can promote peace, that we can promote understanding and just cross conversations, and that kind of thing. We never intended it to come to where we are today, but that message that we were trying to talk about from back then, it's that message has never really changed. And what we've been doing more recently is we've been tying these things that are these Okinawan traditions that seem pretty much niche to our community, but trying to find ways to use that to address contemporary things. So it's the COVID-19, for example, the social awareness that we need to, that idea of taking care of each other, the idea of taking care of our kupuna, yeah, and basically thinking beyond yourself to take care of other people. And that resonates in our music and our dances, and pretty much all aspects of our culture. And even what's happening with the Black Lives Matters movement, the idea of racism and systemic discrimination, these sort of things that it seems completely unrelated to what we do with Okinawan music, but it's completely related, because for us, Okinawan music, performing arts, really, it's the one thing that I think I'm most proud of our heritage is that almost every aspect of our culture really focuses on humanity, the human aspect of everything. So the way we do things, how do we do it as being as pure human beings as possible, and how to address each other as in the nicest or the best way possible, that we can, our relationships together as human beings. That basically that everything that we do, everything that we learn from our ancestors is about basically how do we live together, how do we make things work. And sometimes it's not going to be the cleanest or the neatest, but at the same time, it's how do we think about the relationships that we have. Really, it's everything that we do is about relationships. And so when we look at the culture and the arts, every aspect of the way that we learn the arts, the way that what the messages the arts carry, especially through our songs, those are all about the way that we relate to each other, and the way that we that we can basically help each other to be better and to help each other survive. And so that kind of message is especially important with all the things that are happening. I mean, always, but of course, kind of really really under the everything's just kind of blown up, just particularly this year. Yeah. So um, yeah. So I'm jumping ahead of myself, but we started from that, and we initially we started off as a group that focused mostly on the performing arts, but then over time, especially once we started focus on identity, then we started doing projects, bigger projects. We started taking tours to Okinawa as cultural education tours, and about 5 years ago, we started an annual identity. We call it Identity Summit now. Just a gathering place for people of not just Okinawan but Ryukyuan, so Shimanchu, from all over the Ryukyu archipelago, as a place to really talk about being indigenous, being having a shared heritage, shared identity, and yeah, just we focus on different aspects of identity and indigeneity, and from a place where again, like sort of twofold in a way. It's like we're always looking at how does that help us to perpetuate our communities and our culture and those kind of things, but also how do we take what we do in our communities and in our families, and how does that contribute back to the larger society? So how does it become relevant to the world that we live in? Yeah, and so uh, and I think sometimes people ask us like, well, because we're still our main mission is based on performing arts. I think sometimes people ask us like, why are you guys doing these identity conferences and these summits or these workshops and these classes on everything but music and dance? And the idea was that for Okinawan performing arts, it's two-sided. It's not just the performers on stage that put out the performance and people just passively listen to it. It's the audience has to be involved. The stage is not the Okinawan stage is not just this platform to play and perform. It's this platform to share. And so you need that reaction, and you need that energy and the input from the audience as well. It's welcome. I mean, we do heishi, and that's where that tradition comes from. That whole construct of this idea of performance. And so um, the other thing is, I think that the way that I see the songs is that, if you actually look at the lyrics to the songs, and a lot of times they're not full,
It's okay.
they're not fully developed thoughts or stories. They're kind of these. I like to think of it as like these little snapshots, or like a little window that has like a little picture of something. And then when you look at that picture, it's a pretty nice picture in and of itself, but it's actually a picture of a window. And when you peer out that window, there's this whole other scenery, this whole other world going on outside that window. And to me, that's what Okinawan songs are. So it's the lyrics, they kind of become like these emotional triggers. And so they don't tell you the whole story. It relates, I think, it tries to relate in some general terms of what the person who wrote the song was feeling. But the idea, I think, is for that to actually resonate with you in your own way, that when you have your personal experiences and things that you do. So if it's a song about love, you might fall in love and you might fall out of love. And when you go through that process, then every time you hear that song, it means something completely different, because every time the way that you've experienced life. And so for us, it's that performing arts is really tied to your life cycle and to the way that you perceive the world. And we depend on that. So we decided that it's not just, we can't just be, we have to be proficient in what we do as performing artists and performers. But we also have to create because of the language gap, the generation gap, and our separation from Okinawa and all those things, that we had to sort of help to create a proficient audience as well. And so performance is not, for us, performing arts is about the audience as well. And so the whole reason why we do all these things and as a performing arts group is because to us, it's all connected to performing arts anyways. And so if we talk about identity, then if we can have people find a way to connect to that identity, then our songs make sense, the music makes sense. And, even if you don't decide that you're going to perform or practice that art, you have a deeper sense of appreciation or a deeper sense of connection. And I think that's that's something I think over time that because of we it's just a natural process that we the education that we go through, the language that we learn that's not our indigenous language, those things, it informs the way we see the world, and and so we cut. I think we need to use these tools that we have, and it's interesting, right? Because we hear all the stories of the discrimination that the people in Hawaii face, and people went through even as far as to change their names to not seem so Okinawan, and you hear stories of families that just completely shun their identity. But it's amazing to me that in the face of that kind of discrimination and that sort of that discouraging the being Okinawan, it's amazing that the at least the very least the music and the dances are preserved and passed on. And I think that's a testament to the power of these arts. And for us, it's our responsibility not only pass on the arts themselves, but also to pass on that power that it has. And I think all the sacrifices that the generations before us made to make sure that this knowledge came down to us, and that even in the face of discrimination, even the face of being ostracized or ashamed, that in their way that they were going to share these things with us. It wasn't easy necessarily for them to do that, and so that our testament, our to them, and our gratitude to them can be in the things of doing. So that whole
well, thank you so much. I mean, it's been I you have so much knowledge, and like you said, it is up to us, and a lot of us are getting older, and we're realizing that it's up to us to pass it down now, and that's sometimes it's a very scary realization that I know for a lot of sansei that I talk to, they are they wish they had their grandparents here to talk to and to ask all these questions, because they don't feel like the expert for sure, but they look around and they're like, wow, we are the oldest generation now. So that feeling of sharing, I think, is super important. So I know everyone's really excited to hear more music from you. So thank you. But we do have a lot of comments. So thank you for connecting. I appreciate you connecting the historical culture and its importance to the current events that are so prevalent today. So thank you very much. So I know you have another song, or you have a few more, right, to share with us today.
Yeah. So this is a folk song called Ume no Kaori, and what that means is the scent or the fragrance of the plum blossoms. And so the plum flower is the and I gotta do a little bit more research on fauna and flora in Okinawa too. But my understanding is that I'm not sure if there's actually real plum flowers in Okinawa, but that symbol I know. So that symbol comes from Japanese and Chinese literature. The symbol of the plum blossoms, and it's it's the flowers that actually bloom. It's the only flowers that you can actually see one of the few flowers that you can see in bloom when it's really cold and there's still snow out. And so that symbolism is this this very delicate, it's a very light shade, a pale shade. It's just not really bold colors, but this sort of delicate flower is able to withstand this extreme cold when all the plants are hiding. So it's a symbol of this sort of resilience and this strength, but behind this very delicate and unassuming not facade, but face. And so it's both that resilience and strength, but also a symbol of humility as well. And the umi no kaori, the fragrance of the plum blossom, it's something that is not a very fragrant flower, but it has a very sweet fragrance if you go really close to it. It's very faint. And so that too, it's another symbolism of its humility. And it's of course, like I say, Okinawan songs are always about people and our relationships, and so this is a symbolism of that how, of course, to be to be humble and to be even if you're very strong and resilient, but to also be unassuming. Um, but at the same time, that people, you don't understand people sometimes unless you get up close. And well, don't necessarily want to smell them all the time, but yeah, you don't understand them. You don't get to know them until you actually get to know them, and you get to connect with them, and then that's when you get to really understand and appreciate a lot of the things about them. So the song, it ties in that symbolism. But what I really like about this song is, again, it talks about seasons, but in sort of a different way. That it says that there's all these flowers that are in the deep in the mountains, and so it's sort of this idea of diversity, but each of these flowers, and particularly the plum blossom itself too, each has their own sort of season that when they're ready to bloom. And the song asks the question, when will these plum blossoms come into, when will I see them in full bloom? And the second verse particularly talks about watering them every day and taking care of them. So whereas Shibushi is about the children looking to the parents for guidance, this is about the relationship between sort of parents and teachers in taking care of the ones under us, but then also having the patience to wait for when this person's season is ready. And so to me, it's really, I think it's an important message today because it talks about that diversity, but also this, you can't just talk about diversity just to talk about, let's just have all these different people and all these different ideas in the room. It's the important thing is getting that conversation to actually understand where all these different people and all these different relationships are about. And so you have, in the same way that you have this mountain full of all these different flowers, each one is going to bloom in its time when it's ready, and you have to be patient to know when that's going to happen. So you have to just maintain that conversation, maintain that relationship, and and then something beautiful is going to come out of that. So,
Umi no kaori.
Ume no kaori.
春や花咲かいもんやまんさちょいいろいろの花のさちょろちょらささちょろちょらさいろいろの花の朝よ短きて育ててろにの花さちょろしちやいちがやよらいちがやよら花 사사초롱 시치야 오코야마 노하남 시치마치도 사조로 소다티 소다티 대로 미노 사카네 오초미 사카네 오초미 소다티 대로 미노
Wow.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Ume no kaori.
It's hard to believe that you actually you're saying that learning sanshin was an acquired taste, because you sound pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So
that gives the rest of us hope.
a moment.
So for me too, sanshin did not come naturally. I took maybe 1 or 2 lessons, I'll admit, and then I was like, I think I'm just gonna stick to dance. But or taiko, I'm gonna stick to karate, right? But it's really great to know that even Norman Kaneshiro did not start off like absolutely loving Okinawan music from birth, right? So that's so great, and I think it's just lovely to hear that sound. I think it really touches a place, right, in a lot of us. So thank you.
Thank you. I want to share an amazing comment from Cheryl Nakamoto. Says, "Thank you, Norman Sensei. You've always been an inspiration. When I first watched your first performance at Farrington High School and heard your story about how you started, it made me feel like anything is possible as long as you kept moving forward. Gambatte." Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
We got we got a little bit of time left, and Sensei, you will be performing one more song. But I'm very curious. You mentioned that Ukwanshin has, that you share a lot of culture and doing seminars, and with COVID, where you've had to pivot a little bit too. And so, real curious, you're doing you started an online seminar, weekly. You're doing about maybe 2 seminars a week.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more?
Sure. So in response to the lockdowns and everything, so we normally have classes over at Jikoen, but that's been on hold. So and actually, so this is actually Eric was the instigator for this. Really, he was really concerned about the our kupuna, the elderly folks who are really, because of the high risk, right? Everybody's more so than everybody else. They're really yagumai, so really stuck at home. And so a way to sort of, a way to bring, so instead of, it's like takeout. So instead of them being able to go out to enjoy music and things, we bring that
to them.
Yeah. So, and of course, again, because of the way that we approach, so of course we do music performances, but we also do a lot of very content-based lectures, and so I think so. Right now, it's gonna taper off a little bit more as things open up a bit more. We've actually been doing 2 sessions a week, so Mondays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Yeah, but like last night's discussion was about language revitalization, so it's like as far away from music performance as you can get, but so we do those sort of things. And so we have a email listserv if anybody's interested. It's under ukwanshinevents@gmail.com. If you email that, then get put on our listserv, and then we basically send out the announcements as they come along. Because like right now, we're not sure exactly what we're gonna do on Friday yet.
Oh, trust us, we know what it's like to put on a weekly or bi-week, twice a week show. That's a lot of work. And just go ahead, DJ. Yeah.
Oh, real quick, and then there's also, you guys do a pretty good job of posting on social media too, right? So you guys, this is how you spell Ukwanshin Kabudan. You could go to their Facebook page, and you can also go to Hawaii United Okinawa Association's Facebook page, and we update the it's called Suriti, online event. So
yes, thank you.
Happy to see that we have multiple ways of getting Okinawan culture out to our community. There's so many of us, and there's so much to share. So happy to see that.
Super important, I think, because I think for a lot of for many years, I think especially like the older generation, a lot of times, I think there's this idea that everything kind of had to be to like one vein, and like you have to be loyal to this one group. But the fact of the matter is, everybody is so busy and so has so many other responsibilities to do that it's good to be able to share, to spread around the wealth, But and it's and I think what's great is that everybody has a different sort of approach and different take, and so that whole idea of diversity again, that everybody can have this diverse choice, and so it's amazing that you guys are doing this as well, and we'll try our best to try to keep on doing our content as well. But it's just amazing. There's so much choice for people to to be able to access, and I guess that's one of the silver linings to this is right that the even if we're struggling a little tonight, right, the online platform allows us to kind of again bring things to the home versus people having to come out, and so it's
right.
Find a way to
connect
on technology, and it's a lot more accessible.
We would love to hear your final song, your last and final song.
Sure. So this song, and people that hear me talk and play, I always play this song, so I play this song way too much. But it's one of my favorite songs, and it's one of those songs actually that the reason why I like to share this song too is because it grew up with me. It's a song that I fell in love with the melody early on, and this is my not like classical music period. And so this is one of the songs that was I just liked the melody at the beginning. I had no idea what the lyrics meant or anything like that, and then gradually as I learned a little bit more, I learned you learn a few words here and there what certain words mean. And then you start to see this is these nice little words here and there must be a really nice song. But then as that goes along, you learn more language, but you also learn more the history and about values and about the culture. And then really the meaning of this song really started to open up. And it's actually only been within since I first heard this song, it's maybe been about 20 something years. And only I would say within the last few years that I've really kind of really understood the full meaning of what the lyrics talk about. And to me, I'm going to cut the song short, unfortunately, but to me, this song kind of, each verse sort of takes a different aspect of what it means to be Shimanchu, what it means to be Okinawan or Ryukyuan, and sort of the best values of us as a people, and that we take from our the teaching of our ancestors and from our culture. And so it touches upon loving your homeland, touches upon having pride and connections to your community, about having connections to your culture. And the last verse is really important to me, I think, especially at this time right now. It borrows from the words of King Shotai, Ikusayon Shimachi Kuniyagati. The idea that war during the time, but what this song it changes the words around a little bit. In times of war, we look to times of peace and to balance. So when there's discord and imbalance, we always look for that balance in that time of peace. But the way that we get through it is through our relationships to each other. That we reaffirm our ties to each other, our friendships, and our love for each other, and that as that gets stronger, then that's how we're gonna get through life, and that's how we're gonna get through. It's kanaganatu. We're gonna get through that hand in hand together. And that's I think that's the general message of what we get from our ancestors. The message from our ancestors is that we have to. It teaches us how to love. As much as we Okinawans fight, at the end of the day, we learn how to we know how to love each other, and we learn how to And I think we're learning how to take that language and spread it out to different parts of the community, into different communities as well. And I think that's the thing that we can share. And so I'll share the abbreviated version of this song. Turaji Ondo.
赤町の表へリゴの花盛り尖り花々と他と見つめて島の親町での面かじをしので片見合いかなさつらずかえ影に手にとやえちも心みがちのしび方みらな朝よに浜で平和世の中の年一まで落ちたててかにさつらずかえこさよんしまちみるとよんけていちゃたるやどしがいちんわかわかとまさきある中どもいんまた深さ影にかながなとさつらずかえ
Thank you.
Very nice, Norman Sensei.
Hey. Oh, thank you so much. That was great. Oh, I think the sound, it's just it's something that it's a very unique sound, right? And if you've ever like heard Okinawan music out of context, or like once I was like, where was I? I was somewhere traveling and I heard Okinawan music somewhere like in China somewhere, and I was like, wait, what? I was like, or somewhere on the mainland too, heard Okinawan music and just kind of popped up and wanted to know what was going on, right? And so it's a very unique sound. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today. I was just so happy to have you with us. And thank you for sharing so much of your knowledge,
Thank you. And real quick, we have a little bit of time, I know you mentioned you wanted to announce a collaboration that you were with Yuki Sensei.
Oh yes,
Yuki Sensei, yeah.
So yeah,
Shiroma.
So at this point, we're not exactly sure what form it's going to take, but we have it. It's planned for the last weekend of January 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a collaboration called Imaginary Homelands, and it's a collaboration between Yuntaku Sensei and Kenny Endo and myself. And but Yuki Sensei, of course, if you guys don't know, she's world famous modern dancer. long career in modern dance. She was actually one of the co-founders of the arts program at the Mid-Pacific Institute, and it's actually a well-known art program here in Hawaii. And so she'll be featuring, if you haven't seen her perform her modern pieces, and a lot of her modern pieces ends up, especially a lot of her later compositions end up reflecting a lot of her Okinawan side anyways. So yeah, so it's going to be an intersection between modern dance, Japanese taiko, and Okinawan music. And yeah, the idea of imaginary homelands being that it's going to be sort of this on stage through the performance and through the we'll be featuring some collaborative original pieces, and yeah, definitely a lot of different types of innovative pieces, and just center on the idea of this idea of, like, of being away, having a homeland but being away from it, but then also the idea of how do you connect, or what's the disconnect, and that, you know, the connections and disconnections that we have is all being sort of immigrants, in some way or form, and being an outsider, insider in that perspective. And so yeah, if you guys, it's going to be through Leeward Community College. So again, we're not sure what the world's going to look like in January.
I know. I was just going to say, I hope we can buy tickets and go to this thing. But if it's a virtual event, we'll see, right, what platform it takes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes, it is.
It's really, really exciting.
And actually, yeah, we just got Derek Fujio Sensei on board.
Hey, Derek. Derek's in like every production, musical, you know, that I've seen. It's great. Thanks, Derek. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, super exciting stuff coming up. Please keep us informed. I'm sure the community would love to hear more about it. And of course, we totally understand nobody knows what the world's going to look like in January 2021. So we shall see, but stay tuned for more. So
thank you, Norman Sensei. You've always been a huge, tremendous asset to this community. Always helping a club I'm involved with, Young Okinawans Hawaii, playing music for sanshin and teaching us the culture, and very much appreciated. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you folks for doing this, because again, it's when you get caught up in the day-to-day work of sitting behind the computer and making sure all the wires are connected and everything, and programs, sometimes you don't get to stop to appreciate the impact that you're having, and you folks offering this every week. And just by looking at the comments, I can tell too that, yeah, of course, that you folks are providing a super important service to our community. So thank you very much for putting all the effort.
Thank you.
And yeah, if you guys, too bad we can't get a shot of all the tech mess that DJ is doing.
Oh, trust me, I got photos on my phone. I told them send it to me.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for all your guys' hard work. And if you haven't been to a Ukwanshin event, as speaking with Norman Sensei today, lots of depth and in his explanation and what he has to share. So I highly recommend Suruti online or checking out some of their events. Yeah.
Okay, well, 本当にいっぺんにへデビル and thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you for joining us. Take care.